Misconceptions of evolution. Is evolution gradual? Many people believe that evolution takes a long time to occur and that one cannot witness evolution within a lifetime. However, there are conditions that permit evolution to occur within a lifetime. Examples that we're going to discuss include Darwin's Galapagos finches and HIV/AIDS. First, we should review what evolution is. Evolution is defined as the change in allele frequencies in a population over time. Natural selection is the driving force of evolution. Natural selection essentially means that individuals that have worse genes, meaning genes that don't aid them in survival or reproduction, will die off. The dying off of individuals with bad genes also means that those with good genes will survive and reproduce, thereby giving their genes to their children. Over time, the proportion of individuals with bad genes will decrease, and the proportion of individuals with good genes will increase, and the population is said to have evolved. In evolution, a common misconception is that it is gradual. It can be gradual, but it isn't always. The process of evolution can occur within days to eons. A perfect example of evolution occurring at a fast rate over the span of months is HIV. Human immunodeficiency virus is a virus that attacks the human immune system, infecting helper T cells that are vital to immune response. With no external selection pressures, HIV replicates rapidly, often causing devastating effects for the human host.
HIV originated in Democratic Republic of Congo and was ultimately thought to have spread to the U.S. through infected plasma transfusions. Common transmission methods for HIV include unsafe sexual practices, infected blood transfusions, and drug injections. A common medication for HIV is AZT. This serves as a selection pressure on the virus because it prohibits replication by inhibiting reverse transcriptase in viral cells. Cells that have pre-adapted mutations will have a higher fitness than those that do not, and will likely replicate in the presence of AZT, while the others will not. Here's a graph exemplifying the rapid evolution of HIV. The y-axis represents percent viability of HIV cells. A value of 100% means that HIV can replicate fully in the presence of AZT, while 0% shows no replication. The x-axis represents the concentration of AZT given to infected cells from human patients grown on a petri dish. The numbers next to each line show the months of treatment. You can see that over time, that a greater concentration of AZT is required to stop HIV from replicating, indicating an increase in resistance within the HIV cells. For example, for patient 1, at 2 months, the infected cells are almost fully resistant to replication with a concentration of 1 micrometer of AZT. After 20 months of treatment, the cells are 100% viable and replicate with the same amount of treatment.
Another example of evolution occurring within a lifetime is the story of the Galapagos finches. The Galapagos archipelago, where Darwin originally studied his finches, is shown here. Two researchers, Peter and Rosemary Grant, went to the island of Daphne Major in the Galapagos to study speciation. They tagged and recorded data from the local finch populations, such as beak depth and blood samples. A few years after their initial visit, a major drought occurred, resulting in lower abundance of smaller-sized seeds. Birds with small beaks couldn't crack open big seeds, so they started dying, while birds with larger beaks survived. Large-beaked birds had children who also had large beaks and survived. Little by little, the finch population on Daphne Major shifted towards larger-beaked finches. Then, a few years after the drought, a heavy rain season came upon the islands. More rain resulted in lots of plants sprouting around the island. More small-sized seeds were present as a result of the new plant life. Finches with small beaks were able to dig up the seeds faster than finches with large beaks. The finches with smaller beaks survived, while the ones with larger beaks died and were not able to reproduce. Over this time period, average beak size decreased, once again showing evidence for natural selection and evolution. Average beak size of the finches had increased after the dry years and decreased after the years with heavy rainfall. This showed evidence of natural selection, because birds with one trait led to higher survival, while birds with the other trait led to less survival. The graph shown here shows the changes in average beak size according to years, with dry years marked in pink and the wet year marked in blue. Here's another graphical depiction of shifts in finch beak sizes based on rainfall. The graph here shows the deviation from the mean beak size as a result of the drought. When drought conditions were present, a fewer proportion of finches had medium-sized beaks due to smaller beaks being disadvantageous. The allele frequency for small or medium beaks decreased. Here you can see a bunch of different finches that all came from the medium ground finch that once dominated the island of Daphne Major. Each finch has a different beak depth, which gives it special characteristics that help it survive and reproduce. The graphs here show the progression and regression of finch beak size. On the y-axis is the deviation in beak shape, and on the x-axis is the time in years. As you can see, beak shapes varied over time with each change caused by selective pressure, which was either excessive rain or an excessive drought. We have a change in allele frequency over a short period of time, which shows that evolution doesn't only occur on geological timescales, but that it can also occur fairly quickly,